Good evening and welcome to Joe Stunner Boxing. On the 11th of October, which is this coming Saturday, we will see a heavyweight clash between the veteran David Allen, British, what would you call him? A bit of a cult figure, really, isn't he? Well, he's fighting ARSLANBEK Makhmudov, the Canadian-based Russian who is 20 wins with 19 KOs. 2 defeats, excuse me, which were back-to-back stoppages, I believe. Oh, no, actually, he might have had a little, I think he had a victory between those 2 defeats. But in 2023, in December, he was stopped by Ajit Kabayel, a 4-round TKO, almost all body punching. A real surprise. I mean, Kabayel, that was his coming out party. He showed just how good he is by chopping up Makhmudov, putting him on the floor 3 times, and a lot of people picked Makhmudov to win. I did. I think I did anyway. Everyone thought that Kabayel was one of these guys who just sort of hung around at European level, won the European belt, and then that was the end of it. But it was, like I say, a real coming out party for Kabayel, and it heavily exposed, I think, Makhmudov. Well, Makhmudov he had a win in Canada, I think. I can't remember who against. And then he fought the Italian heavyweight, bit of an enigma. Sometimes he blows hot, sometimes he blows cold. Guido Vianello, who is a very crafty, sort of an irritating to fight guy, cut Makhmudov quite badly and ended up winning an 8th round TKO. He cut him with a punch. I think, well, it was a punch. It would have been a headbutt. It would have been a no contest. But Vianello, like I say, some good wins on his record. But he's also been beaten by a few people who you sort of look at his style and you think if you'd had a bit more motivation and let your hands go a bit more, you could have won that fight. I mean, in his last fight, he fought Richard Torres Jr. and lost a unanimous decision. Lost nearly every round. It was very disappointing because I thought that was a winnable fight for Vianello if he was on it. He lost a split decision to Efe Ajagba, and he was also stopped again on a cut caused by a punch against Jonathan Rice, who's one of those gatekeeper types, good heavyweight. You need to be on your A game to beat him. Well, quite clearly, Vianello wasn't. But he's got that win over Makhmudov. And he's beaten a lot of, journeyman types like Curtis Harper and a couple of others I can't remember. But he's got more talent than he sometimes shows. And he showed it against Makhmudov. He cut him badly. He soaked up the early pressure. Makhmudov with 19 KOs in 20 wins. Very big, powerful fighter. A very, orthodox stance. I think he's about 6'5", 6'6", something like that. Big with it, and he was considered to be the real sort of bogeyman of the division. And then, of course, he got exposed. He's beaten Carlos Takam, 10-round decision. He stopped Marius Vac, ancient Marius Vac, in 6 rounds. And he's beaten people like Erkin Tepe, Pavel Sauer, the usual suspects, really. He stopped Tepe in 1 round. Erkin Tepe had that. He's a drug cheat, and he had that victory over David Price years ago. He's also got a 1-round victory, Makhmudov, over Samuel Peter, a former WBC champion, who was just picking up paychecks and got stopped in a round, and it was just a shell of what Peter was, absolute shell. Stopped Jonathan Rice. That wasn't a bad win. Jonathan Rice, again, another sort of gatekeeper type. So when it comes to a certain level, he's a destroyer. He mauls you, he hits hard, clubbing punches. In his last fight, he fought an absolutely awful fighter called Ricardo Brown, who came in with 12 wins, no draws, no defeats. I mean, that was, if ever there was a paper resume, it was that, because it was a 1-round stoppage. They just swapped punches, and I think within a couple of minutes, Brown was over and out. It was a case of a guy who, with a paper record, throwing punches at a bloke who really was a fighter, who is a slugger. And I think that's essentially what Makhmudov is. He's a big, mauling bear of a man, hits hard. He's 36 now, so he's no spring chicken. and he will bully you and maul you and just, grind you down. Now, in Dave Allen, who, if you're from Britain, you probably know a lot more about him than you do about Makhmudov, 33 years old now. Seems like he's been around forever. 24 wins with 19 KOs, 7 defeats, 4 by stoppage, and 2 draws. So he's got that patchy, not patchy record, but I use this phrase gatekeeper. To beat Dave Allen, you've got to have something about you. A fit, motivated Dave Allen is a handful for anyone. All right. And he proved this earlier on in his career when he took Dillian Whyte the distance over 10. He got stopped by Tony Yoka, about 2018 maybe. Got stopped in the last round by Tony Yoka, took a frightful beating. He lost to Luis Ortiz. I think that was after the Dillian Whyte fight. He got stopped in 7. That was an 8-rounder. It was over in, London or Manchester maybe? But he has got a steel jaw, Dave Allen. He can take a wallop and he can hit hard, all right? Because he's got wins over, people like, I think early on in his career, Jason Gavin, again, another sort of journeyman type. He did fight for the Commonwealth title against Lenroy Thomas and could well have won that fight, but lost a split decision. And they had a rematch, didn't they? And it was a first round technical draw because there was a clash of heads. He had a great win against Nick Webb back here. Again, this must be 7 years ago, I think, 6-7 years ago, probably maybe even more. But he beat Nick Webb when Webb was undefeated in 12. Knocked him out in 4 rounds and did knock him over. And he also, what might be his best win is against Lucas Brown, who at the time was 28 wins with only 1 defeat, and that was to Dillian Whyte when he got knocked out. Well, he came back to London, fought Allen, and got knocked out with a body punch. Remember that, a body punch. That was in 3 rounds. That might just be Dave Allen's best win. I think that and the Nick Webb wins are very, very good wins. He had an absolute tear-up at some point, and again, 6, 7, 8 years ago, with a guy called Bracamonte, and he stopped him in 7 rounds. I think Bracamonte, did he have a cut and he got pulled out or he retired or something like that? I can't remember offhand. But that was an absolute tear-up. And there is some evidence that Dave Allen, even though he's got this brilliant chin, he relies on it. And there are concerns even now about Dave Allen taking too many punches and ended up with possible punch drunkenness, or CTE as they call it, further on in life. He fought David Price 5-6 years ago, whatever it was, and got stopped in 10 rounds. He was retired in that fight. And he took a terrible beating from Pricey. Great shame, but that was a beating. That was a beating, a real beat down. And then more recently, a couple of years ago, he fought Fraser Clark when Clark was undefeated at the time in about 7 or 8 fights, I think he had. And Dave Allen was terrible in that fight. He was out of shape and he was terrible, and he quit basically after 6 rounds. He's like, fuck this. He did quit. He said he had a perforated eardrum. He might have done. He might well have done. But there was no sort of, I'm going to walk through walls to beat this guy. He didn't win a round against Clark. Clark just sort of hammered him. And probably his resurrection, if you like, is down to 2 fights with Johnny Fisher. Johnny Fisher was undefeated in 12, got put on the floor in their first fight in the 5th round, but got up to win a very controversial 10-round split. Lose a 10-round split decision. Dave Allen, Fisher won a split 12-round decision. Dave Allen, I thought, won that fight quite clearly. In the second fight, again, the 5th round, this time Dave kept Johnny on the floor. He knocked him clean out in the 5th round. And it was an excellent, excellent win for Dave against a high-profile but somewhat limited heavyweight. I'd say Johnny Fisher's probably English level. He's won the area title. He's probably English level. He's a good, honest pro. I'm not knocking Johnny Fisher, but put him in with a veteran, a crafty veteran like Dave Allen, you're going to have problems. And he did have problems twice. And I think Dave should be 2-0 against Johnny Fisher. But I mentioned the craftiness of Dave Allen and the experience, and he will need that against Makhmudov. Now, Dave's got a very good chin. He's crafty. He can pace himself very well. This is a 12-round fight, by the way, not a 10-round fight. So Makhmudov, the big bull of a man, the big bear of a man, is probably going to do what he always does, which is come straight at Dave and try to put it on him and grind him down. Dave, very, very durable, can probably, you would think he'd be able to soak up a lot of the punishment. Of course, we do have the issue of, you know, sometimes a fighter has to be saved from themselves if they're taking too much punishment, and it's feasible that that could happen with Dave. Dave Allen has lost a lot of weight. In recent photographs and videos, he's looked very slender. And a lot of people are saying, oh, he's up for this fight, he's getting himself in shape and so on and so forth. Yeah, okay, again, quite possible. But it doesn't necessarily follow that losing the weight is a good thing, especially if you're in there with a big bear of a man who's going to put the heat on you. Do you know, it's not necessarily the right thing. I always, in all these videos I make, I always get back to the quote from Angelo Dundee when Muhammad Ali, just before he fought Larry Holmes, and he looked great, cosmetically great, aesthetically good, and Dundee said, light ain't right. And I do have to wonder about this weight loss, because he's fighting Makhmudov, a big man, big strong fella, and you have to ask, is losing the weight the right tactic? I mean, obviously getting fit is the right tactic, being well conditioned, but you should condition yourself to your natural weight. You shouldn't be losing weight just for the sake of it. That can weaken you. And I do wonder about Dave, whether that's the right tactic. I mean, I don't want to second guess, you know, he's got a professional team around him, and I don't want to suggest that I know more than they do, because I don't. But you do have to wonder about the weight loss. I mean, I don't know what he's going to come in at, but Makhmudov will come in big. Again, he's about 6'6", and Dave is going to need, I think, a bit of weight, apart from the usual, you know, burning off a bit of fat during the fight if it's a grueling 12-rounder. He's going to need that extra bit of weight to put some wallop in his punches. From a tactical point of view, I think it's pretty obvious that Dave needs to go to the body, because Kabayel chopped up Makhmudov with body punches, did an extremely good job, a very surprising job again. And I think Dave's got to do the same thing. From the word go straight to the body. Dave also, he's quite slow-footed. I mean, they are heavyweights, but it doesn't mean they're necessarily slow-footed. And to me, another danger sign for Dave is that he doesn't throw many punches. He's very economical with his punch output, very economical indeed. And I think that that has to be borne in mind, because against Makhmudov does try and smash you up. He does throw a lot of punches, and I don't want to see Dave slipping into that role of, well, I'm soaking up the punches, but I'm not throwing anything back. I'm trying to find the ideal punch, the big punch, like against Nick Webb. I know Nick Webb's not ARSLANBEK Makhmudov, but just as an example, if he slips into that rhythm of, or that mindset of not throwing many punches, that is not going to be good. That's not going to end well, I don't think. I think he's got to up the ante. Oh, right, it's 12-rounder. I get it. You have to pace yourself early, but against Pricey, he was sort of following him around. Pricey was just boxing. Dave wasn't really doing anything, and as a result, he just got a beat down. He just got beaten up, and I think he has to be careful that he doesn't do that against Makhmudov. So, who's going to win? In my opinion, we will see what I've just described. I think Makhmudov will start hard. Dave will probably be able to ping a few counters, a few individuals off his head. Makhmudov, although he got sliced up to the body, he's not got a bad chin. So I would think that probably we'll see Makhmudov survive anything that Dave throws at him. I mean, he might suffer some bad rounds and some discomfort, but I think if he's there after 5-6 rounds, and Dave isn't throwing enough punches, I think we might see Makhmudov take over just on physical strength. again, I worry about the weight thing. I worry about the lack of output from Dave Allen, and the weight thing could be a factor. I think Dave certainly has enough, like I say, craftiness to definitely cause Makhmudov problems, but I think he's got to get rid of him. I think he does. If he goes to the body and he pings a lot of those heavy hands off, heavy shots off the body, off the rib cage, yeah, but he needs those rib benders to sort of keep Makhmudov honest and to really trouble him. Don't think the headshots from Dave are going to be enough. I can certainly see a scenario where Dave Allen might win, but I have to say that I think overall, I just get the feeling Makhmudov might have a bit too much, and this might be one on physical strength rather than technique and style. So I have to say, even though I want Dave to win, I have to say I think Makhmudov is going to stop Dave in about 10 rounds. Beat him up, stop him. It could go the other way. I mean, again, I've said before, I only do previews for fights that I'm not sure about. And sometimes I get them right, sometimes I get them wrong. I want Dave to win, but I think Makhmudov is going to do it probably in about 10 rounds. But here's something that I haven't mentioned that I should have mentioned earlier. When it comes to getting down in the trenches, I think Dave's got more about him than Makhmudov. I think Makhmudov, if Dave can drag him into the trenches late, he'll stop him, because I think Makhmudov will roll over, quit. But it's that output thing with Dave Allen. It's so frustrating. So many of his fights, you think, throw some fucking punches for Christ's sake. You're going to lose this fight. And I can see Makhmudov with his strength and his size limiting Allen late in the fight and maybe stopping him. Might be a corner retirement. But I hope I'm wrong. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I am quite biased being a UK guy, but yeah, I'll go with Makhmudov to win in about 10. That's going to be my prediction. Anyway, look, I'm repeating myself here. So you tell me what you think. Don't just pick a guy. Tell me why you think they'll win, how you think they'll win, what your reasoning is. I always like reading your comments. Thank you for watching. It's been a long one. Thank you for watching. And yeah, hit the like button if you like the video, because they count the likes. And I always say this, I've no idea why. And also subscribe to the channel if you could. That would be good. That helps us out. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking forward to this one. Thank you very much. And take care. Bye for now.